Welcome to another Fanboy Film Nerd Galaxy Class spoiler review. This time, Joker. This movie, we're going to start with the story. This movie, going into it, I remember I did my very first trailer reaction that I've ever done was for the Joker. This Joker movie. When they announced Joaquin Phoenix was going to be the Joker, and we'll go into his portrayal of the Joker further when we get into the cast, but just sticking with the story, I was so excited about Joaquin Phoenix. He's one of my favorite actors. He's in my top 5 favorite actors of all time. Well, I shouldn't say all time. Currently, I would say in the last 20-something years, he's been in my top 5 favorite actors. I wouldn't put him all time as my favorite actor of all time. But when they announced he was going to play the Joker, the excitement I had for him was unbelievable because we all knew story-wise there had to have been something about this story for Joaquin Phoenix to even take it, because he doesn't take just any role. He is very, very, very meticulous about what roles he takes. And if you look at his body of work, it's all over the place. But one common thread is it's always an interesting and unique story. He will not take it if it's not. Now, some people may say, well, some of them aren't that interesting, but it's something for him. He has to identify with something in that script, in that story, in that character, the overall project, for him to even take it. So there was something about this script, this story, this character that he identified with, and he made it come to life on screen. The story is very simple. It's a tragedy. This is a flat-out tragedy. If anybody went into this movie expecting to see an action-packed comic book conversion to film movie, they were going to be very disappointed. And I can understand that. The reviews have been a little hit and miss when it comes to that. People thought maybe this was a little bit too far left, going with that Martin Scorsese Taxi Driver vibe that it has. But I will say, I was hoping, had my fingers crossed, that it was going to be more like Taxi Driver and not so much more like, something that is witty and fun, but a little dark. I was thinking, no, if you're going to go dark, go dark. This movie's rated R, so that helps. We knew going in that at least some F-bombs are going to be dropped. And that's great because you're dealing with Joker, and we're dealing with the origins. A unique one-shot movie. Hopefully it stays one shot. Please don't make a sequel to this. I hope they don't. It's perfect the way it is, in my opinion. It was just a one-shot great film about a what-if story of this version of a Joker. Now, there's been so many other Jokers on screen. We just had one in Jared Leto, which, no offense to Jared Leto, my God, brother, you got sandwiched between Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix on the Joker totem pole. Fuck me. Good luck in the history of the pantheons of on-screen movie Jokers. Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix, Jared Leto. Not to say Jared Leto's Joker isn't great. He got fucked with that movie, even though I actually like Suicide Squad. He still got fucked. That didn't have him in the movie enough. I think he played a very good Joker. I just think he wasn't in the movie enough. Enough with that Joker. We're talking about this one. This Joker, I liked a lot. I liked it a lot because this is a tragedy. And the story itself, if you didn't even know who the Joker was, this is a tragedy. All the way down to the point where this is a very unique looking Joker, even when he's out of makeup. I mean, his teeth, because Joker comes across like his teeth are always perfect. His eyes, his symmetry of him is always perfect. His suit fits very well. He's just, well, Heath Ledger's it, but you get my point. He's just, he's a little bit out of whack, but he also is just very well put together. He's always clean as far as the silhouette. You can recognize a Joker just from the silhouette. This one is different because he spends the majority of his time outside of the makeup. This is the first Joker we've seen that's been on screen this long without any of his makeup. That isn't Joker. He's just Joker-alike. Which means in this story, what I loved about it was that you didn't get full-blown Joker until it was completely earned. At the end of the movie, where Robert De Niro gets his head blown off, which is by far my favorite scene in the movie, is the whole talk show Robert De Niro bit with Joker being on, when he's just behind the curtain. He comes on, he kisses the woman, sits down, and he's having this very weird conversation. He's addressing the crowd. But what I love about this movie story-wise is almost every single shot, Arthur is in the shot. He is in every shot virtually. This was completely told through the Joker's point of view from the beginning all the way up to the end. And it's claustrophobic at times. It is disturbing. It is uncomfortable. It is cringy. And I fucking loved it. If he does not get nominated for an Oscar for this role, fuck the Academy. And don't give me that comic book bullshit. This is not a comic book movie. This is not a graphic novel film. This is its own story. This is a fucking film. It just happened to have common names like Gotham, Bruce Wayne, Batman, all that shit's in it. To a certain degree, which is another thing that I loved about the story, is that it's very restrained from from pushing back to what we all know, which is the comic. We all know about Bruce Wayne's parents getting shot. I love the fact that that's in this movie, and that is built up. And then, just like the Jack Nicholson's Batman, Joker had something to do with Batman's death, which makes their interaction that much better. I also love the fact that they went ahead and threw into this story one of the story bits I've been wanting for years, and that is the concept that Joker and Batman are actually brothers. Now, it didn't actually pan out in this movie, but for a few minutes, I got to fucking feel that moment of, oh my god, Joker and Batman are brothers. That it was, and even though they took that aspect away, saying that his mother was crazy and that she didn't. And obviously, I'm speaking this way. If you have not seen the movie and you've gotten to this far into the review, this is a spoiler review. I assume you've seen the movie. I always assume you've seen the movie, so I speak about it as if we're just sitting down talking, and we already know all the story beats. We're just reminiscing about the film. So if you haven't seen the movie, go see the fucking movie. Then come back and check out this video. But I will say that I love the fact that the mother is the person who gave birth to the Joker, that it wasn't his fault. He didn't do anything to deserve anything that happened to him in his life and in the events that happened in this movie. And I love the fact that even the events in this movie had nothing to do with the Joker that ended up at the end of the movie. You know, him getting chased down and beaten with the sign and beaten up by the guys contributed it. Him wanting to be a comedian and sucking at it contributed to this. His boss firing him, not believing a fucking word he had to say. His mother betraying him, not telling him the truth about what was going on. All of those things make this character, forget the Joker aspect. If that happened to just any normal person, especially with a condition like he has, which allows these incidents to happen in the first place because it draws attention to a man who otherwise doesn't really want all that attention. He is mentally incapable of being a normal person, what we consider normal. And if you think about the word normal, by the way, the word normal means things that most people do, that people, what is normal really? I mean, you can give it a definition, but it's arbitrary depending on who you're talking to, where they've been. What's normal in the United States is not normal in the Congo of Africa somewhere. You know, it's completely fucking alien. So this guy, with having the laughing condition, that is not something he chooses to do. He chooses not to laugh in this movie. He's forcing himself not to laugh. He just can't help it. I think that is fucking awesome. I as a character, it's not awesome that has happened to anybody. You wouldn't wish what happened to him in this movie. You wouldn't wish that upon anybody. But I think what's great about the movie itself is that it dives into those cringier moments where you don't get to escape when he's having this problem of laughter. You don't get to escape and cut. No, they just sit there and you experience the full bout as if you were actually sitting in a room with somebody who could not stop laughing and uncontrollably. And it's unbelievable what Joaquin Phoenix did with his body to prepare for this film. The weight loss, how eerily distorted his body was in some of the shots. It was unbelievable. It all adds into the character. The moments where he keeps dancing. At first I was like, this is going to get annoying if he keeps doing this. But then as you grow with the character, you realize it's all part of the journey to get him right to where he wanted to be at the end of the movie, where there's an important sentence where he wanted to be. Once he figured out he had a purpose, then things started to change in the movie. And it's what's great about this movie is you get to see this roller coaster ride. And towards the end of the movie, he is a completely different person than he was at the beginning. Confidence wise, he had came into his own. He walked out on that stage and faced Robert De Niro's character in a way where you know that wouldn't have been possible earlier in the film. And I also think he gives himself confidence for things that aren't even there. Like the confidence in his brain to believe he can get someone like Zazie Beetz character to be with him that quickly, the way he's acting means he has a heart full of hope, that he's a dreamer. He not only dreams, but he puts things in his brain that benefits him in a certain way. It's not because he's some sick, twisted fuck. He tends to dream about things that actually, if they would pan out the correct way and he would go about things the right way, are completely quote unquote normal. They just, he has things that happen outside of that fucks with him in a way where there is no way for him to actually succeed in that city of Gotham. It's just such a fucked up place to be, and he didn't have a chance from birth. He had been lied to and abused physically, emotionally by his own mother. And then the people he thought, hey, look, I may have a chance with this family with the Waynes. I mean, he gets his ass kicked by Bruce Wayne's father. So you understand that a character like this never had a chance, and the tragedy of this story is what was my favorite aspect about this movie. The cast is nothing to sneeze at. Love the cast, but I'm going to focus primarily on Joaquin Phoenix and a little bit into Robert De Niro. I loved everybody in the movie, but again, since the movie was shot in a way where essentially Joaquin Phoenix was on screen 90% of the time, and is told completely through his point of view, you can't really... I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about some of the other characters. Everybody was serviceable. Supporting cast was unbelievable. Zazie Beetz, loved her in the movie. But I think the two people that stole the show, obviously the title character, Joker, and Robert De Niro's character as the talk show host, he nailed every story beat you can put in a movie with a character who does something like that. We have so many references to draw from to compare him to, that he nails it. You believe he is a talk show host, and he was perfect for this. And ironically, he was in Taxi Driver playing basically the same character as Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. So I love that. So the cast, very serviceable, very good supporting cast. One that's needed for someone like Joaquin Phoenix, who is going to hopefully be nominated for an Oscar. You need people to help support you, and it's huge in a movie like this, and I thought everybody was great. I was shocked after finishing the film because I kind of forgot that Todd Phillips directed this, and he did the Hangover films, at which great stuff. He even did old school great films, but the common denominator there is that, you know, those are comedies, and this is a fucking, you know, if you want to say it like a film noir, I shouldn't even say a film noir. It's like it's a tragedy based in a period piece based in a world that is fiction that comes from a comic book and a graphic novel. It's a lot of layers there. Bit ambitious for someone like him, but this is what I like about directors who you don't think they can pull something off, and they pull something off like this, is that oftentimes, just like someone like Adam Sandler, considered a comedian, but is a very good dramatic actor. Tom Hanks, look what he turned into. He was people forgot Tom Hanks was a comedian, and I mean, it's just certain people can flip that switch and turn into something completely different. So, not an easy film to direct by any means, but you're putting a camera on a great actor, and you can't go wrong with that. So, all in all, obviously a very great directorial project for Todd Phillips. I think the movie is virtually flawless to me personally. I think we'll talk about my verdict on it later, but for the most part, it's flawless. Writing with the screenplay, I thought, also left a lot of room for improvisation, especially on Joaquin Phoenix's part. So the writing was great. Very simple at times. It wasn't the most ambitious dialogue you would ever hear, but again, I don't think it needed to be for this film, which is so gritty and based in the real world, if you can call it Gotham the real world, which is awesome that you can say that we finally got a movie where Gotham feels like a living, breathing, livable city. I think the dialogue serviced that. It's very simple, very direct, very on the nose, didn't pull any punches, And all the conversations went down as you would think. I didn't really feel like with any of the conversation they were just too over the top. Except when it comes to Joaquin Phoenix, who's obviously a deranged character. But for the writing, I love the simplicity of it. I love how easy the story was to follow. There was no weird plot points or anything. It was just so straightforward. So you just got to enjoy the performances and not worry about clunky dialogue and fucked up exposition that goes on in these weird set pieces. It was just a straightforward film that told itself visually most of the time. And whenever you can accomplish that, you are definitely on the right track. I love the production in this film because it was, again, ambitious. It's a period piece, even though they never just said, this is the year. I guess you can probably tell, and I might have missed it. Maybe they did say this is the year, and I just happened to miss it. But I was glued to the screen most of the time, so if it was on there, I missed it. I'm sure there was newspapers and everything, so I'm sure the date was on there. I just didn't catch it for the purposes of this. I didn't catch it, but uh, uh, that is neither here nor there. It's a period piece, and it's an ambitious one. They could have just as easily have made this movie in modern times, and it probably wouldn't have hit the way it did because of visually the way that it looked. I thought the production was serviceable. I mean, they didn't really go out of the box too much because it's a very claustrophobic film, and a lot of things is hidden in darkness and in light at times, and overexposure with light and underexposure with darkness. So you don't get to see everything. But I think that's great because, again, the movie is not called Gotham City, it's called Joker. So you want to see Joker on the screen most of the time. It's a very claustrophobic case study about a man who is diving into a tragedy where we know the outcome of him having to battle Batman in the future. And how do you get someone this fucking crazy? I think, shots like the set with the TV show. I love that because it did remind me of, if you read The Dark Knight Returns, which is one of my favorite graphic novels of all time, it did remind me of that, where, you're sitting there, even though in that film, that's more of the Joker from Suicide Squad. The Joker doesn't make any difference in it. It's just the set. Just the idea of Joker sitting on a talk show, TV show, talking to a host and doing something fucking crazy, just like he did in The Dark Knight Returns. If you have not read that graphic novel and you listen to this, go read that. Go read anything you can get on the Joker. He is by far one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. Definitely my top 3 of favorite villains of all time. And as far as movies go, he is in my top 3 of villains of all time and characters in general. I am Joker obsessed. I'm still trying to figure out what tattoo I want to get based around the Joker because he's just been one of Batman is by far my favorite superhero. So my favorite villain is Joker. They go hand in hand with me. He's definitely, as far as comic book villains go, he is by far my favorites. But if you want to put in top 3, I guess if you want to name off some other people, but he's number 1 for me. I love the Jokers. That's why I was so excited about this movie, and to see him on that set brought back memories of that TV show set. Brought back memories of me reading the graphic novels because there's so many things that they pulled from this. Even from the show, Cesar Romero's Joker, you can see a lot of that in this Joker. Just how he looks and how he laughs and the way he acts at times. I thought they was like they tipped the hat to Cesar Romero. At least what I saw. Maybe people might see that completely fucking different. I just saw every time I looked at him, once he had the actual final version of himself in that odd colored suit, which really isn't that purple. It was like this burgundy blood, wine-ish looking color to it. I was just thinking the whole time, I was like, Cesar Romero with a little bit of Jack Nicholson in there, his Joker. It was just but this is clearly one of the most unique Jokers. So I thought the production of it had to fit this Joker's personality. The production had to fit it, like the time period and everything had to fit. Otherwise, he wouldn't seem right. Something would be off with him. It had to. He wouldn't fit in a world with cell phones. He wouldn't fit in Heath Ledger's, version of Gotham. It wouldn't have fit in Suicide Squad's, story and its atmosphere. It had to be unique to this Joker. So production-wise, I give it a thumbs up because it fit the character, and they have to go hand in hand. This Joker had to fit in this world, and he did perfectly. So hats off to the production. I love the cinematography just from the trailers themselves. The trailers painted a picture that this was going to be a very weird, dark film. I don't know why people got so discombobulated thinking that this was going to be some bang bang action film based on nothing but the trailers. It was screaming in your face that this was going to be a character study of a man who had fallen into tragedy. So I don't know what people were expecting. So the cinematography, I think, reflected that the most. It wasn't a vibrant Suicide Squad color to it. It wasn't a film noir style that Chris Nolan brought to his trilogy. It wasn't a Tim Burton vibe with a desaturation of the colors and muted colors and darkness. It had its own feel to it, and I thought it has, even though it's a period piece, it does have a timeless feel to it because it has a color palette to it that is very, it's almost like a memory type look to it. It doesn't feel like a film sometimes when you're looking at it. It's almost like you're remembering something, or you're dreaming something. The color palette was very odd, and it makes you unsettled because it's not perfect. Things look like they're popping, but they're not. They're very desaturated. You know, things look like they're in darkness, but they're not. There's still light coming into the scene, and vice versa. I love that about it. I thought the cinematography in this movie was absolutely beautiful and perfect for this film. I love film scores. I get attached to them very quickly. I can tell instantly in a film that, okay, I can't wait to listen to the score again. Certain ones I have to buy, and this is one I gotta buy. This theme was fucking weird, and I liked it. I don't know when I would ever listen to it, what kind of fucked up mood I have to be to listen to this score, but I just have to have it in my hand and have it in my collection on a disc, and I just love the score. It was fucking creepy, and it reflected the mind of this character. But also, I never heard a score like it. I love scores where I have not heard anything like it, where it's so fucking weird. You're like, what the fuck is that weird? But it's a score. It makes sense in some weird fucked up way. And I think this one was perfect for this film. The score is very understated. It doesn't get loud when it doesn't have to. There are other sounds and everything in the movie, but I thought the sound wise itself, I thought the Joker's voice was amazing. It was what we remember, but it was still a little bit off and creepy and childish and psychotic and almost feminine in certain ways. I thought his laugh was perfect. By far, my favorite Joker laugh on screen is this Joker. It is fucking awesome. My second favorite Joker laugh is Mark Hamill's Joker, and then believe it or not, Jack Nicholson's. But and I guess if I'm gonna rank them all down, Heath Ledger, Jared Leto, Cesar Romero, excuse me, Jared Leto. No offense to Jared Leto, but his laugh with the Joker was, I don't know if you would even call that a laugh. He didn't even laugh that much in the film. Again, not his fault. Can't laugh that much in the film if you're not fucking in it. But I would say that the sound in this movie was great. Again, it had a very simplistic quality to it, just like the dialogue. I just thought it needed to be there when it needed to be there, and then it wasn't when it wasn't. And there's a lot of music in this film, songs and things like that, that broke up the monotony of the odd score. The odd score would come in right when it needed to be there. It's not a very loud film, but when it does get loud, it's just that much louder because you have these really low valleys of nothing going on, minimum sound, and then you have big explosion of sound. I thought the rioting sequences where you can hear all the voices of all the individual people when the cops were chasing the Joker on the train, you could hear if you listen. And I can't wait to see this fucking film again because I loved it. It's one of my favorite films of 2019. You could hear very clear some of the conversations that are happening with people in the background, and they're distinct, and it's just like, wow, they put the extra mile into that. The talk show sequences, you can hear all the different types of laughs and breathing of the people in the crowd. Even when you're not looking at the crowd, when you're just looking at Joker and you can hear the crowd, you felt like that crowd was sitting behind you and you were in the audience. I thought that was so fucking brilliant. I don't know if people caught that, but if you ever watch the movie again, especially in the theater, if you go back and watch it in the theater because you have the complete surround sound, you will feel like you're in the fucking audience watching this guy. Like, I was sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, I almost feel like he's looking straight at me. And it's like, this dude is so fucking creepy. I feel creepy sitting in this theater. And I had to even look around and be like, okay, yeah, I'm not in the fucking audience with this guy. It's so fucking great. And that was one of the best things about this movie was the music and the sound. I just thought everything was it just drew you into this world and surrounded you and made you be in the room with this fucking crazy ass man. And again, hats off, just like the production and some of the other qualities about the film, the sound design, great. So how good was this film? In my opinion, damn near flawless. There are some things in it that I'll talk about in a second that keeps it from being perfect, but I will say this is a damn near perfect film. It's a film I expected to be a certain way, and it exceeded my expectations. I actually went into the film trying to know as little bit about the plot as possible. I didn't watch any reviews. I normally do that. At least I watch a couple that I trust before I even do my review and before I go see the film, just to get a little bit inside. Especially because as long as they don't spoil it, I'm good. Because I pretty much know what to expect from these films. I'm a film nut job, so I know what to expect from these films basically from the trailers. But details, I didn't want to know any details about some of the things that I've said in this review. I didn't want to know the plot points. I didn't want to know that Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne and Bruce Wayne are in this fucking movie. I didn't want to know that Joker and the concept that Joker and Batman might have been brothers for just even for a moment. I didn't want to know about the talk show. I didn't want to know about De Niro and how he worked this up in here. I didn't want to know the relationship with Zazie Beetz. I didn't want to know any of that shit because I wanted to have a fair ground when I stepped up to bat to watch this movie. I want to be able to say, okay, am I going to be taking here? Or am I hitting it out the park with my excitement? I just wanted to just take. I was like, I'm not shooting for. I don't expect anything from this at bat. I'm just gonna stand here and just and try to walk to first base and just take it for what it is. And what I got was like I was swinging at everything because I loved it. I was like, this beat I love, this beat I love, this character I love, this character I loved. It never dropped in quality for me. As the story went on, it just got better and fucking better and fucking better. And when it went off, I didn't want it to fucking end. I was pissed off. I'm like, oh, come on, give me another 40 minutes with this guy. I did not want the movie to end. And a lot of times I'm like, look, I'm just like, God, would this fucking movie end? This was not one of those movies. I loved every aspect of it. I mean, I could not believe what I was watching at times because they could have fucked this up. And we are talking about DC here. And no, DC did not have to be involved with this. And thank goodness they weren't. Because this fucking movie was his own thing. And it didn't needed to be tied in anything. There didn't need to be backstory about what this and that, whatever. No, it was just his own thing. And they didn't go overboard. They could have just said, let's throw Batman in here. Fuck it. Let's just do a time lapse and show, no, none of that shit. I loved it. It's a film. It's a damn film, and I loved it for that. How bad is it? It's not bad at all, obviously. I'm gushing all over this fucking thing. Okay? I was eerily disturbed by it in a very good way. I was anticipating some of the beats and was getting them wrong in a very good way. I lowered my bar down to as far as I can get it so I wouldn't be disappointed because this is one of my favorite characters of all time, film or in comic books. And I was blown away by the film. I can't get it out of my head. I cannot wait to go see it again. I'm actually going to go see it again on, this is Friday. I saw it on 4 o'clock on Thursday. First viewing in my city. I was sitting right there. I was literally the first person in the theater. I could not fucking wait to get in this theater to watch this movie. So this Sunday I'm going to go see it again. I love this movie. I'll probably see it maybe a couple more times in the theater just to dissect it now. But if I had to say anything bad, because every movie has something bad in it, I guess if I had to say anything bad about the film, I might have maybe the Joker in it, his full version of the Joker that we see once he gets on the talk show. Maybe bump that up a little bit earlier in the film, like maybe halfway through the film. Maybe bump that up. I might have would have spent a little bit more time, and I shouldn't say this because I just said I wish Batman wasn't in the movie, but it would have been nice to maybe see one more extra scene hinting to the fact that Bruce Wayne is going to be Batman. Not needed. Again, I'm trying to find things for myself to put some bad stuff in here. I would say maybe there were a couple times again the dancing scenes. I thought maybe went a little bit too long in some scenes, but again, I'm nitpicking. They were needed in that way because you can't say put the camera on him and have him laugh hysterically, uncontrollably, I like that aspect, but I didn't like the fact that he's doing the same thing except he's just dancing. So it's all nitpicking. Go see this film if you haven't. This is an awesome film. This film is damn near perfect. If you like films, recommend it to people who just like films, who like indie films. Recommend it to them. You got a guy or a girl in your family or your friends circle of friends that enjoy Martin Scorsese films. Recommend this movie for them. Get them out and go check out this film. When it comes on a Blu-ray, if you're watching this and this is Blu-ray, go rent it and pop it in. Trust me, they're gonna fucking like it. Even the people who said they didn't like it, just tell them, hey, look, when the title card Joker comes up, just close your fucking eyes. It's not Joker. When he says Joker later on in the movie, he's joking. He's not actually the Joker. Just watch the fucking movie. I guarantee you, they're gonna like this movie if they like that type of film. The people who are the comic book nerds that hanging out with you and they don't want to, well, we like Justice League. Tell them to go fuck yourself then. Go watch Justice League and waste your time. Not that Justice League is a bad movie. Do anybody likes these movies? I don't. I like Justice League actually myself. The only thing I hate about that fucking movie is how they treated some of the characters and that goddamn uh, Henry Cavill mustache. Other than that, I can accept most films, flawed or not, for what they are. Justice League is what it is. But a film like this, if somebody's walking into this movie thinking they're going to see Justice League, then you deserve to be disappointed. Just based on the trailers. So I will say, go see it. Bad or not, if you think this movie's bad, convince somebody. If somebody you thinks this movie would be bad and they just like movies in general, pay for the fucking ticket and let them go have an experience in the theater. Because these types of movies aren't made that often outside of the comic book genre. We're just talking about these types of films in general aren't made where you have that Taxi Driver feel, that Martin Scorsese feel. Those movies are slowly going away and are considered indie films and niche films by niche directors who are trying to put their foot in the door and they don't have big budgets. It's rare that you get to see a movie of this caliber on the big screen, backed by Warner Brothers, rated R, with this type of performance that is going to be Oscar nominated. My God, go see it. Drag as many people out as you can because I want to see more movies like this. I hope this movie succeeds and makes back a ton of money. A movie like this is only going to make so much money, especially in October, but I hope we get more movies like this. One shots from Marvel and DC. Even though Disney would never produce a film like this, so our only hope is for Warner Brothers and some other studios to do this. But I thought this was a great film, and I loved talking about this film with you. I will see you guys on the next movie night, the next Fanboy Film Nerd Galaxy Class spoiler review. I'll see you guys next time. Have fun at the movies.